Hello, my fellow book nerds and fangirls. Today, I am so excited to share with you guys my next video. Today, we'll be talking about The Haunting of Hill House, episodes 4 through 6. Now, if you haven't watched episodes 4 through 6, you need to. They are like the best episodes in this series, in my personal opinion. Some people might beg to differ, but I personally think, like, this is the best episode of this series. Especially episode 5. If you have not seen the episode, The Bent Neck Lady, you need to. It's just like, it's the best episode ever. It was just like, it was great. I loved that one. Episode 5 is probably gonna be my favorite. Episode 6 a close second. So if you haven't watched these episodes, what are you doing? Go watch them. If you haven't watched this series, you need to stop what you're doing and watch this series. Don't sit on it, even if, like, you're afraid of horror series. I promise you, it's not that bad. As a person who loves horror, I wasn't really scared by most of these moments. Like, I've seen a lot of horror, so I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot of things that horror movies do, and this one doesn't really do anything, like, super new of the genre. Also, sorry about my shirt, they got these weird sleeves that I wish they didn't have, honestly, but it's okay. It's okay. We'll get through it. But I promise you, this series is great. If you want a show that is family-centered, that has a great ensemble cast, I have actually watched all 10 episodes of this series. I will be getting my reviews out for you guys in the next upcoming weeks about this show, but today I wanted to concentrate more specifically on episodes 4 through 6. If you have not seen my episodes 1 through 3 talk, I will link down below. I think you will have to watch that one for this one, or don't, if you don't have to. I'm not gonna tell you what you can and can't do. Personally, I hate it when someone tells me that, so don't worry about it. But if you're, like, lost, about who everyone is, I got a lovely little introduction video down below, that I'll link down below. Without further ado, there are gonna be a lot of spoilers in this review, so if you haven't watched it, go watch it. They're great episodes. If you watch them and just want to hear me ramble and rant and gush and everything and their mother about them, then go ahead. Like, they're great. This is a great series. Don't sit on this series. This series is great. I'm getting frustrated because my husband is actually sitting on this series. The series too. He personally hates horror. Or doesn't really like it. I love my horror. It's like, horror's amazing. Especially horror that has, like, great subplots. I'm totally here for it. And The Haunting of Hill House is definitely one of those series. So, let's get started with the video before I just gush and totally forget what I'm talking about. Let me get to the episode, guys. Okay, so the first episode I'm going to be talking about is episode 4. This one primarily focuses on Luke. And I was really intrigued by watching Luke's episode because, as we've seen in episodes 1 through 3, Luke is a drug addict. He's addicted to drugs. drugs. So I was wondering, one, how he got that way, and two, what's it like in his day-to-day life. And well, it didn't really show us how he really got into drugs. It does show what it's like in the facility for drug addicts. Also, it shows what it's like to have an addiction and fall back into addiction. It's like, it was a really interesting episode. I liked it. I really thought we would get more Abigail in this episode. We didn't. We actually get to learn who Abigail is in episode 10. Like, I had a feeling who she was, and I was right, but we're not on episode 10 yet, so let's discuss other ones. So this episode starts, and we get, I think Luke is, like, opening up with a speech. So, he's opening up about a speech. Because he got his, I believe, 90-day chip, so he wants to talk about it. So, in the opening, like, when we go back to 3 days ago, I can't really remember. It was like, I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head. We get to hear the story from a drug addict who's talking anonymous, and we see his story, and I'm forgetting a lot of the details because I watched this episode so long ago. I'm just like barely getting into it, but he used to be in the military. He saw a little girl die, and he got to see her with, like, melted eyelids, which would be traumatizing. We also know that he's blind because he kept on seeing the ghost of this girl. He decided to blind himself one day to make it stop, but now, because he did that, she's the only one that he sees now, and that's just, like, really sad. And while this guy is talking about how he got into drug use, I'm over here wondering how Luke got into drug use. It doesn't really answer your question in this episode. Maybe if they make a season 2, they'll explore a little bit more about the characters. It's fine if it's just one season, because the first season was so awesome. So, Luke has made a friend in rehab. I think her name was Joey. Don't quote me on that. And Joey is kind of like his sponsor, or the girl he looks up to in rehab. She's been there for, I don't know if it was 5 months or 5 years. She's been there for a while. Her story, like, makes Luke want to be better. It inspires him to actually go there. And Joey just seemed like the best, especially in the flashbacks with her in it. So he wakes up from, of course, like, Nell. The ghost of Nell. I believe he sees the ghost of Nell. I know. So he figures out that Joey has left rehab because she is relapsing. And I like how the show explores relapsing. Also, like, it's not something that's commonly talked about, is relapsing. In shows, I've noticed, at least the shows that I watch, and I think it was, like, during a jump scare, but my cat actually literally, like, jumped on my lap or was trying to during one of the scary moments. And I swear, my cat is like the best jump scare you'll ever meet. She will purposely wait until a scary part, and then she'll jump straight on your lap. She won't give a fuck. No fucks given for my cat, honestly. So, during this time, he exits out of the rehab facility that he was in because he wants to go find his friend. He wants to bring her back. The thing about these facilities, though, is if you leave them, you can't really come back to them because they have so many people trying to get into them. It's a sad reality, but it sounds harsh. It's a sad reality, but it is what it is. And I like how the show shows that. I love how realistic the show is, even though it's like a horror and it involves ghosts too. Like, I think this is the only thing that's truly scary about the show is how realistic it is and how it follows real life and everything could have a logical explanation to it also. Also, it's just like, it's fucked up and I love it. But, so I'm guessing he gets kicked out too of his facility, which makes me really sad because Luke really wanted to get better, and we see. Actually, that's a spoiler for, like, episode 10, so I'm not gonna spoil that. But, so, like, he wants to get them off the streets for the night. So he goes to Steven's apartment, of course, to jack stuff, because he doesn't want to get in drugs, he just wants to help his friend from, like, getting back into them, because she helped him. She was there for him with all the cold sweats and the shakes and all that other stuff. So that's what he needed the money for. But I actually agree with like their supervisor when she says that addicts can't help addicts. It's just the reality of the situation. They could understand them, and they could help to a certain extent, but you can't rely on one. Especially if it's, like, during a relapse. Another thing about what I don't really get is why Steven doesn't tell people about his separation, but that's just a Steven thing. So we get into, like, this, flashback with Joey and with Joey and Luke. There we go. Luke. And they're visiting Steven and his wife. Estranged wife. And it was, like, whenever he was 30 days. And Joey just seems like such a great person in this episode. I really liked her. I really hope she didn't die. It's implied, I think, that she dies. I'm not sure. I like how, when Steven tries to insult Joey, she, like, puts him in his place. Like, one thing I hate about Steven is he's so pretentious, so I love it when people put him in his place. If you haven't noticed, Steven's my least favorite character. My least favorite Crane. It's just like, ugh, I don't like him. So, we flash back to the present, and we find out. And, Joey kisses Luke, and then she says that she really has to go pee. And then I knew from that moment that she was going to take the money. Not, like, some addicts do that, not every addict does that, but some do. But I knew she was going to take the money, and I really feel bad for Luke, because, like, to add insult to injury, Andrew, he gets beat up and his shoes taken and his coat, I think. So, of course, whenever, so, like, I don't remember what storyline was going on with him as a kid. Again, all I know is that I love his and Nell's twin thing. Like, the twin thing is awesome. Awesome, I loved it. So, they were showing flashbacks of him and Nell in this episode. Also, you know, his interaction with this thing called the Tall Man. And oh god. God, I felt so bad for Luke when he found out that Nell had committed suicide. We'll get to that in episode 5. We'll get to it. But I love the ending of this episode whenever he asked Steven how she died, and Steven was all like, she committed suicide. It was suicide, it was an accident, yada yada. And then he tells Steven, no, it wasn't. And then that's where the episode ends, and I was all like, I love their twin thing, because I knew Luke was gonna see through that bullshit of her dying. So onward to my favorite episode. Usually for these episodes, I literally write like only a page of notes, but like for this episode, I got a lot of territory to cover. It's just like 5 and 6 are just like my favorite episodes, guys. So going into this episode, I was not prepared for this episode, and the ending of this episode, I was still not prepared for the emotional impact it was gonna have on me. This episode is so well done, because not only does it show the supernatural aspect of what's happening now, it also shows the psychological aspect, and it's so trippy that everything could be explained in this one psychologically, and it was just like, it fucked me up. Like, I remember finishing that one, and like, I had watched episode 6 after that, so it wasn't like fresh in my mind, but my god, I felt like emotionally fucking heavy going to bed that night, guys. It was just like, they tore my soul out and just like crushed it. It was just like, these episodes were so great. So well done, so good. And episode 5 was the greatest episode I've seen all year. Quite possibly. It's so beautifully done. Getting into that, of course, I wasn't prepared for this episode. So in this episode, we find out that Nell has this thing called sleep paralysis. I have actually heard of sleep paralysis, but it was interesting going into this episode and finding out more about sleep paralysis. So during her sleep paralysis, we notice that she sees this figure called the Bent Neck Lady. Now, the Bent Neck Lady, if you remember episode 1, she was introduced in that, and she's been sprinkled and mentioned in it throughout the series, but I was not prepared. I was not. It was like, it fucked me up. Like, oh, I'm cussing a lot, but it's like, it's great. It's a great episode. I'm just like dying from this review. I love it. So, of course, like, I'm wondering if we're figuring out, oh, Nell dies in this episode, and disclaimer, she does. We do find out how she died, and it's, like, fucking awful. So, we see that because of her sleep paralysis, Nell has started seeing a sleep tech to help her with her sleep. And it turns out that sleep tech that was helping her is actually her husband. So she met them because she was doing a study, I believe, trying to get help for her sleep paralysis. They ended up falling in love, and I just found, like, this relationship to be so sweet, even though it only lasted for an episode. We only see him every so often after this episode, but I love how whenever she was going through her paralysis, he would help her through it. That really touched me. I can't remember what I said about it's good thing she didn't swallow that. I can't remember. Like, God, I can't remember a lot. Like, I remember a lot about this one, but, So I can't remember her kid counterpart in this one. It shows more about her relationship with her mom in this episode. Like, Nell and her mom were, like, really close and tight, and it was cool to see that. I don't remember the kid counterparts. It's weird. But I remember how fucked up this episode was. Doo-doo-doo. So, like, during her adult parts, I'll probably just talk about the adult parts because I don't remember the kid part a lot, which is sad. But, like, then we come up to what had happened to him. What happened to her husband, because during her sleep paralysis, now, I wondered what had happened to him the night she died, and it turns out that her husband had actually died of an aneurysm when the bent neck lady showed up. We'll get more into that later. So, as a, result of him dying, when the bent neck lady shows up, Nell feels like the bent neck lady was somehow responsible for her husband's death, which we know she wasn't. We're getting to that. I also wondered what happened to the hills in this one. I mean, like, another side note on this one, I liked Miss Dudley's relationship with Nell. I feel like Nell was the only one she really liked in this episode. Something about Theo and her ESP. Like I said, I don't remember what happened with the kid counterparts in this one. It's frustrating. So all through this episode, I was wondering who the bent neck lady was. Okay, at first I thought she was an omen for bad things because there was a scene of Nell and Luke in a car, and Luke ends up shooting up heroin in the car of Nell. But I like how, despite seeing that, Nell believed in Luke. And it's great to see the relationship with the twins in this episode. I think that's primarily what it was the relationship with the twins. So after her husband dies, Nell starts seeing this new therapist, and he asks her primarily to take control of her life. So this results in a scene. Sorry, guys. guys. So I'll just ignore that. It could, like, put a message. So what ends up happening?
You guys are so distracting.
So what ends up happening is Nell goes to one of Steven's book signings where he's talking, and she confronts him about how he primarily used their stories for his books, and she calls him out on his bullshit, which I love that she called him out on his bullshit, because Steven is not my favorite character. And what she said, oh my god, it just stuck with me. I loved it. Oh yeah, I think, like, the counterpart was about Nell discovering, like, the Cup of Stars and this tea party set, like, and then we get to learn about, like, the crazy one in this one. This one, I remember that one. This one. It also shows kind of like what happened after they escaped from Hill House. They're tiny when they're younger, but it's like Nell, like, stayed awake. Like, got, jolted awake, I believe, for something, and we see her dad entering, and he's covered in blood. And I can't remember, like, I swear, I don't know why I forgot half this episode. I just remember the shocking reveal of this episode and everything that happened to her, like, in her adult counterpart. But I remember, like, him talking to Nell, and then he calls the cops on himself because of what happened. And we realize in episode 10 how he got blood on him. And we'll get to that in episode 10. 10 when we talk about it. So, So, whenever, like, the cops are about to haul away Hugh, I believe his name is. He gives Nell a pocket watch, which explains, like, the beginning of the episode when she has the pocket watch. So, we come full circle, and we get to, the beginning. Like, I'm talking about the beginning. Like, whenever, like, Nell's therapist wants her to confront her past. So what she does is she gets in her car, and she decides to drive to Hill House. Now, we all know from the first episode this was a bad idea, but here is the fucked up part of what happened to Nell. So we figure out what happened to Nell. She goes to confront her demons in the form of the house. She goes inside the house, and she is confronted with the ghost of her younger siblings and the ghost of her older siblings. Like, it's a house playing tricks on her mind. They're all there. The house even goes as far as to show her mom, and we still don't know if the mom is really just stuck in the house and is just like a ghost, or if she's just like in Nell's mind at this point. But that's also something that really confuses me too. Confused my husband too. So we get to the part where Nell is having a bunch of illusions. And this is the point where I'm mentally screaming, because I know the house is trying to kill her. Because, the Red Room shows or I shouldn't say that. But the house shows you what you want to see. Like, this house has a very tricky mind. And we'll get to that when we discuss other episodes. So this house tricks Nell into thinking that her husband is alive, and of course, ever since her husband has died, Nell has struggled with his loss, even going as far as to use Theo's ESP as a way to figure out how her husband died, and to try to explain his death. So of course, Nell is fucked up. And the house shows her a mirage of her husband. And this goes to throwback on episode 1. I like how, like, if you don't notice the details, you won't notice that there are, like, small details that tie in with all the other. With all the other aspects of the show, like, all these scenes tie in so well together, and it's great. But, like, the house shows her a mirage of her husband, and that's what we saw in episode 1, because we see her husband, her dancing for one last time, and then we see her going up the stairs after that, following her mother, because she sees her mother, Luke, and this other little girl who is Abigail, I believe, and they want to have a tea party in the red room. So we get to where Nell is at the foot of the stairs, and this is like a gorgeous spiral staircase, by the way. I love spiral staircases. They're awesome. So Nell reaches the top of the spiral staircase, where we see Olivia, like the ghost of her mother, turn around, and she pulls out the locket that Nell so desperately wanted from her mother, because it had a photo of her and Luke inside it, and it was such a touching moment. But, like, oh my god, like, this episode is fucked up, guys, and let me tell you why this episode had me tripping so hard afterwards. So, Olivia gives Nell the necklace, but whenever we cut back to the scene, the necklace is choking her, and it turns out that she has not slipped a necklace over her neck, but really a noose. And then Olivia puts her hand on Nell's chest, and Nell is scared for her life, and we see Olivia saying, "It's time to wake up, sweetheart," and then she shoves her off the staircase and hangs her to death, snapping her neck in the process. And when you think it's over, when you think you have figured it all out, we see flashes of Nell's own life going through her eyes from her perspective, and we find out that Nell was the bent neck lady all along. And that revelation fucked me up. Because she's been terrorized by this figure all her life, when actually it was really herself terrorizing herself. So in tune, we find out the origin of the bent neck lady is that it was really Nell, and that she has been figuratively and mentally her own worst nightmare. And that fucked me up so much, guys. It was just Oh my god. I never would have guessed that was the direction they were heading. But it was so good. So good. So last but not least, we are getting to episode 6. This episode was very visually pleasing. I felt like I was in a legit horror game watching this episode. This episode is called Two Storms for a reason. This episode shows all the grown adult Cranes and the young adult Cranes together, and it parallels with each other so amazingly. Guys, this is just like such great direction. So in present times, the Cranes are gathering for Nell's wake. They're all arriving at Shirley's funeral home. But in past day, also. But in the past day, we're shown that there's a storm, and there's 2 storms. There's the one that is happening during Nell's wake, and there's the one that's happening during one night in the house before all the shit hit the fan. The fan with his family. And it's just like, it's such a trippy episode. So in present times, like, we have family dysfunction out the ass. And we see all the arguments, like Steven being Steven. We see, like, everything. We see all the fights between everyone, and it's just like, it's a clusterfuck, and I loved it. This episode is just so well shot, and so well directed, and so well written. Right, and of course, like, during the storm, that someone is, like, fucking Nell in her body, God, it's just, like, God, it was just so good, guys. Guys, there's just so much about this episode that is to discuss, but I don't have a lot of time to discuss it, if that makes sense. But yeah, it was a great episode. I love the video game aspect of this episode. There was a few chills and thrills in this episode, but I mainly want to talk about the sad moments at the ending of this episode. So, if you look really closely at this episode, you can see Nell's ghost being with them in the background, which, scary as shit if you look at it. Like, Nella's ghost, oh my god, she is, like, the best. I just love it. I love it so much. There's also a lot of family drama in this episode, especially with Theo not being able to feel things, Theo getting drunk, Theo touching Shirley's husband, by the way. We'll get into that drama when we discuss episode 8. Because it's there. But, So, I'm losing my voice because I'm talking a lot. But, yeah. Yeah, I want to talk mostly about the ending of this episode. So, the ending of the episode, like, during this episode, they're primarily trying to find Nell in past time. Because somehow she has disappeared. They're looking for her all over the house, which is where the great visual effects come in. Olivia sees a ghost. Children see something, like, very freaky. That's not very explored what they see in that one. They say it's a dog, but we don't really see the dogs very often. In this show, I think that was just like a missed opportunity. for them to show, like, Demon Dogs or something, but, it's okay. It's okay, not every show has to have everything. So primarily the ending. So what happens is that they find Nell again, and they ask her where she's been, and it turns out that she had been with them the whole entire time, jumping and screaming, but no one could hear her, because it was an illusion that the house played on them. And what was sad was the whole, I've been here this whole time. I was screaming, but you didn't see me. I've been there this whole time, but you didn't see me. And that one killed me, because it flashes back to present time now, and she's by her casket, and it made me so emotional and cry. And this series is just so good. Good, guys. I don't know why people are sitting on those series. It's like one of the best horror series I've seen. It has such emotional depth, and it's just so great. And I highly recommend you watch it. But that's it for this video today, you guys. You guys, comment, like, subscribe, whatever you want to do. It's all good with me. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!